There's a lot of talk about diversity. We need more people who think differently. We need more people who look different. We need more people from a different background. With all this focus on being different, what does that mean for equality? I'm Dr. Jonathan. I work with organizations to make them inclusive, and I'm on a mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. Get your pen and paper ready because I want to talk about equality and why it may be a dated term. This is one of those inconvenient topics that a lot of people dodge because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to deal with it because they haven't really thought about what it is we're trying to do here or where we're going. I could talk about this at length, but in this show, I want to briefly give you some food for thought. Regular listeners to the show know that we don't talk about equality much here. There's several reasons for that. One of them is that people really aren't clear what they mean when they say equality. Are we talking about treating everyone equally? If so, this may be a challenge because the diversity narrative is based on the premise that people are different and there is value in those differences. As a management approach, that's what diversity means. Under these circumstances, treating everyone the same may be counterproductive if our requirements are different. So here's a really basic example. The access needs of a wheelchair user are likely to be different from a person who doesn't use a wheelchair. That's a real basic example, but if it's not that, maybe we need equality of outcomes. In some cases, this can be pretty straightforward. Two people doing the same job under the same circumstances should be paid the same amount of money. I used to work as an accountant, and in one of my jobs, I learned that there were three of us doing the same job being paid different amounts of money. The white male got paid the most. I got paid the second highest, and then a white woman got paid the least. Same job, same training. Unacceptable. But it's really this straightforward. In my personal experience, in all the research that I've seen, it's very rare for two people to do the same job under the same circumstances and get paid different amounts of money. Over the past year, I'm hearing more and more examples that contradict what I just said. I'm hearing more and more examples of people who are doing the same job under the same circumstances and getting paid different amounts of money. We'd all agree that's unacceptable. Pay is one of those areas where the word equality is used a lot. And when we talk about equality, an important question to ask is equal to who? If you listen to narratives around the gender pay gap, the conversation is something like this. Women should be paid the same as men, or women should be treated the same as men, especially around International Women's Day. This narrative, whether it's acknowledged or not, this places the experience of men at the heart of the equality question. Equality requires a benchmark to be equal to, an archetype, a standard. In this case, it's male. Now that may sound reasonable, but in our book club, we're reviewing the book Invisible Women: Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. In this book, the author is pretty convincing in showing that the experiences, the preferences, and the behaviors of women are distinct from men in ways that really matter. And this matches the point that we made earlier about the diversity narrative. We have differences, and we should value those differences. But valuing those differences isn't always what happens. A quick and dirty solution that you will see when organizations are trying to promote equality is fixing. They don't call it that, of course, but in general, those who are underrepresented, they need to be adjusted, they need to be corrected, they need to be fixed in order to meet the standards of the benchmark, the archetype of the employee. This is often presented as diversity, but it's not really, is it? Some of these leadership programs that you hear so much about, some of them are trying to reproduce the behaviors of the dominant group in underrepresented groups. The question you should ask yourself is that what we want? Am I saying that we should ignore equality? Of course not. What I am saying is we need to think about how and where it's being used as a concept and as an approach. Equality is important and useful for addressing current and historical imbalances, but we really need to think about what this means for the future. Is it appropriate to seek equality in the future based on an existing standard? Let me put this another way. We live in a system that provides advantages and benefits, you could call them privileges, to those who are considered to be white, male, able-bodied, cisgendered, heterosexual, and that's just the start of the list. For clarity, I belong to all but one of those categories. It's not straightforward, but I certainly have privileges because of it. I say that because I benefit from this system in ways that others do not. Here, what we believe in the future that we want, we will live in a system that will share the advantages and the benefits, you could call them privileges, with everyone. There will still be privilege, but it will be earned. If you're a regular listener to the show, you know that we think of that as a true meritocracy, where everyone can belong and everyone can perform. I know that this sounds like a dream. It sounds like an abstract idea. And that's the point. We're seeking something that lies outside of our experience, so it's going to take some imagination to get there. Your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to work towards building a new world, a new system that's difficult for us to conceptualize right now. Not only that, we need to do this while living in the old world, the old system, recognizing that we're products of that system and therefore we're socialized to maintain this existing system. Can you see how difficult that is for us? Can you see why it's going to take all of us to work together? Can you understand why equality, as it's used now, may be a dated term? So let's wrap this up. What are the key messages here? 1. Equality is a term that is often used without careful consideration. 2. Equality requires a standard that may not work for everyone. And 3. Equality may be useful now, but it may limit us in the future. So what do you think? Are you working towards equality? Get in touch or leave a message. I would love to hear from you. If you want to continue the conversation, join our LinkedIn group, the Element of Inclusion Community. If you've learned something from today's show, share it with one other person that you think would benefit and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.